Hey, this is TimmyG. Welcome to episode 2 of Producing with Logic Pro stock plugins. In this episode, we're going to make a bass house track only using the plugins that are given to us in Logic Pro. The point of these videos is to show you guys that you can make some really cool sounds just by using stock plugins. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Anyway, let's get started. So I have a very basic house beat right here. So I have a kick, a clap, and a ride cymbal. So I'm going to play that for you guys. And it's just like that the whole time. So nothing fancy. This is a good start. You don't need to start like this, but this is how we'll start right now. So with a bass house track, there's so many different ways we can go. I prefer my bass house tracks to be a bit more aggressive instead of like subby or like nightclubby. So almost kind of like a mix between bass house and dubstep. But you can make your bass house tracks however you want. So anyway, the first thing I'm actually going to do is a little bit unorthodox, but I'm actually going to work on the background elements first, and then I'm going to use that to drive us into a good bass line. So I'm going to add a retro synth, which is right here, and I don't need the library. And the reason I'm going to add the background elements first is because that might help me figure out what I want to do for the bass line. It also is something that is so important. If you're listening to professional songs, you'll notice that there's tons of background elements if you're trying to listen for them. You might not notice them, but if they're not there, you'll totally notice that, and the track will seem empty. So first thing I'm going to do is open up musical typing and the retro synth. I want this song to be in the key of F. So what I'm going to do is just turn the vibrato up. So I'm going to go down here. So I just basically made the vibrato, this vibrato, totally into the synth right here. So I'm going to adjust this. I like that right there. I'm going to make it just adjusting the envelope here. All right, let's try that at a higher pitch. Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do is just have that throughout the entire bass line. So maybe every 2 bars. And maybe I'll do one more thing to this. I will. That sounds a little bit better. So now what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to add some reverb. Let's see. So I'll go down to Reverb, Space Designer. And I'm just going to pick a default setting and then slightly adjust it. So I'm going to go to medium spaces, halls, and let's try nice hall. So that's way too reverby, which I find that if you use these stock reverb settings, most things are way too reverby, if that's a word. So I'm going to turn the wet down to like maybe like minus 18. Perfect. I'm just going to copy this for the whole 8 bars. So I'm not going to make a whole track, just going to work on the 8 bars. And once again, the whole point of this is to give you guys ideas of what you can do. So anyway, let's play that just a little bit. All right, and I'm going to turn that down, maybe like 5 dB. Perfect. All right, so the next background element I'm going to work on is a laser. So in a lot of the bass house tracks that I've made, I love having background elements, and a laser is a cool one. It's really easy to make. So let's get into that. So I'm going to open up the ES2 right here to make an easy laser that it actually sounds really cool. So here's the ES2, and I'm going to make sure all of the oscillators are on here. And the way you make a laser is basically just have the pitch move really quickly. So what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to make the laser sound rich by turning these semitones up. So I'm basically going to make a major chord. So this is going to be the root note. This will be the major third. If I put this up 7 semitones, that will be the perfect fifth. So that is a major chord. If you don't know any music theory, don't worry about it. But this is what one note would sound like. Once you play more than one note, it sounds kind of messy. But anyway, what we want to do is we want to control the pitch with the LFO2, low frequency oscillator 2. So I'm just going to turn this off right here. And then once I move that up, this means how much, like basically what ratio out from 0 to 1 should the pitch be controlled by LFO2. And now I have basically all of it. So it's going at 5.97 hertz, but I want it synced up with the tempo of the track. So I'm going to go down and do an eighth note, I think. And I see that the cutoff is down. So that sounds a bit more, that sounds a bit brighter. But one other thing you can do is also set the cutoff to the LFO as well. So I'm going to do cutoff 1 and 2. It would do both, but it doesn't really matter. It's on this one. And then I'm going to go to LFO 2 as well. Now, another thing with this laser is you can, it will have different sounds at different octaves. So if I go down to a different octave right here, I like it right here at this F right now. So the next thing you can do for the laser is adjust the wave. So this is just like a triangle wave right here. Here's like a sawtooth. And, I mean, you can adjust the speed too. And then this is kind of like a reverse sawtooth. And I like that a lot. So what I'm going to do now, put some EQ on here. And we see that we have a lot of lows here. So I'm going to cut those out. And we also see that we have some high stuff right around the 20 kilohertz range. Most people probably can't hear that high. Like I think I can only hear up to like 18 kilohertz. But that will affect how loud your mix is, and it will like compress it. So I'm just going to turn this maybe like down to 16 or whatever. Nice. Okay. And I might add a tiny bit of reverb to this as well. So let's do a small space, maybe ambience hall. All right, that's not a tiny bit. All right, something like that. So not a ton of reverb, but just a little bit. So now I'm going to draw in my MIDI notes. And I'm just going to have these like at the end of the 2-bar chunk. So basically, the way I'm thinking about this is breaking this up into 4 different 2-bar chunks. I know chunk is probably not the correct vocabulary term, but you guys get the picture. So if you notice, the main sound is coming a little bit late. So I'm actually going to delete all these, and I'm going to bounce this out so I can adjust it. You can't. The reason that I couldn't just move the MIDI note over is because it is tied to this LFO, which happens. It's basically doing what we're telling it to, but I want to have more control over that. So I like the sound, so I'm going to bounce it out. So bounce in place. I just right-clicked there. Yep, normalize on, and I'll be able to adjust the volume. All right, so now we can see that it gets the loudest right here. So I might start that a little bit before that. Let's see what this sounds like. I'll turn it way down. Might be a little too loud, let's see. All right, I like that, but there's nothing. Oh, there's a little bit over here, so maybe I'll just fade that out. Whoops. I just did Command and click. That's my secondary tool, the fade tool, as default. So anyway, let's see what this sounds like. All right, I like that. So now I'm going to bring this and copy this over and have it at the end of every single 2-bar chunk. All right, and I'm listening to this background element. I think it sounds good, but I'm just going to turn the highs a bit down. So I'm going to put an EQ before the reverb here, and if I just solo it, you just have it very something like that. And once again, it doesn't matter that much because this is not going to be like your main instrument here. It's just going to really add once we get to that main instrument. So let's listen. All right, I might actually do one more thing. I might cut this. Whoops. Let's see what this sounds like. All right, so now it's like a third thing. And I'm just playing around with this. I have no idea where I'm going with this track, and that's the way I like it. And then maybe we'll do that to the last one too. So it's not just the exact same thing. So this one is 2. And then it'll be 3 lasers. And I think I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I will be linking the project file in the description of the video. So you'll be able to have access to all these audio files and all of my stock plugin presets. So anyway, let's maybe add one more background element before we get to our main basses. And I'm going to add some extra percussion. So I'm going to load up just any old drum track. So let's do drum synth. If you haven't tried it out, is awesome. I'm going to make a whole video on that in the future. Let's try drum kit designer. So actually, I don't like any of this. So I'm going to pick a different drum kit. So the older drum kits actually had a lot more samples. So I'm going to go to Legacy here, and I'm just going to go to GarageBand, and let's go to drum kits. So these are literally the old GarageBand samples. You might not even have these. If that's the case, I apologize. But let's just try. Let's try the jazz kit, for instance. I believe, yeah, there's all sorts of samples. So yeah, let's pick one of these samples. Oh, I like this. All right, I'm gonna just draw that in right there. Oh, I need to figure out what the heck note that was. E5, okay, can find that. There it is. 1, 2, 3, and. This is another way to just spice up the drum beat. All right, let's try. All right, that's cool. Maybe we'll add one more thing, and then we'll call it a day with the beat and background elements, and then we'll get to the main bass. So I think I used this sample in one of my tracks called Get Back. I like that. I really like it. Let's try. No, don't want the whistle. Ooh. You know, that sounds too pitchy, so I'm not going to use that. Pitchy, I said, not the other thing. That sounds pitchy as well, but I'm going to use this one. All right, let's see, what note is this? So it's going to be D sharp 4, and I see it right there, which is nice. So I'm going to actually extend this. Here we are. Maybe this one instead. No. Yeah, let's try this. And then I'll switch it up a little bit. I'm just going to delete and copy. We'll do 2. Maybe we'll do 2. I just like the 1. All right, and I think I'll just do that, and then we'll call it a day. We'll get into the bass design. All right, so for the bass design, there's so many different ways that we can do this. We can start with the sub bass, which actually I might do. I don't always do that, but I actually made a sub bass tutorial if you haven't seen it. So I'm just gonna add a new track and go to my user channel strip settings and go down to sub bass. This is one I made for the tutorial, but they're pretty much exactly the same. So anyway, I'm gonna just work on a little bass line. So let's see. And you probably won't be able to hear this unless you're listening with decent speakers that can output some sub bass. So I said I wanted F to be my key. That's gonna be loud, so I'll turn this a little bit down. So I'll start the measure with an F, and a lot of times I like a walking bass line. So, and when I say that, I mean a walking chromatic bass line. So it kind of like tiptoes down, hitting every single possible note in between. So maybe I'll go with the F, and then I'll show this with musical typing. So something like that, hitting a bunch of the notes right there. So and in my sub bass tutorial, I said the sub sounds better when you leave a little space in between the notes. and maybe I'll go back up. I'm gonna turn this down, the jazz kit. They're just background elements. So if you can't hear that, maybe I will adjust. I'll turn this off and show you what it sounds like. Nice. All right, we'll go back to the sine wave, turn the EQ back on, so that's our sub bass. And then maybe I will do something different. Maybe I'll leave it like this. Then go to the perfect fifth, which would be C. So something like this. Ooh, I like that. And that goes well with the lasers. All right, and I'm just gonna copy this. All right, so now we have a little bit of a bass line, so now we gotta figure out what we wanna put on top of that. So I'm gonna open a new track, and I'll do another retro synth. There's lots of options. What I'm probably gonna end up doing is doing some layers, which is something that I do a lot. So I usually do like one type of synth with another one to get a cool sound. So I will just open this up right here. And then for my we're gonna start low here. So I like to go to the FM because I think that's where you can get a lot of cool sounds, but table, sync, you can get some cool stuff out of all of this. Actually, I'm gonna go to analog and get a bass, get like a bass line, no pun intended, but like have something underneath that, and then put some like higher frequencies over that to get more character. So I think let's see. It's a major third right there. And I will, oops. All right, I kind of like having that. And you'll hear this a lot. You'll have like a major third that's like just kind of creeping over that. So let's see, what else can I do to this? Kind of want to make this wobbly. So this is the this is like the filter, this is the envelope, and this is the amp. So I'm just going to copy and paste this exact bass line. That must have been the recorded note. So here we go, let's listen to it. I'm gonna bring this an octave up. All right, I'm just gonna kind of keep playing with this and then making some adjustments. I'm gonna turn the vibrato up. That's pretty good. And now I'm going to just add a bunch of modulation effects. So before I do that, I'm just going to turn this on. And I'm going to cut off the low notes because the sub, if we listen to the sub. That'll be plenty loud and bassy. All right, that's good for now. Now I'm going to add some, let's see, modulation. Do some ensemble. I love the ensemble effect here. I'll do screen door, because why not? That's really cool, but I'm not going to have, I'll do like 30%, I think. And I don't want this to spread that far. I'll do like 22. All right, that sounds cool. Now I'm going to go to, I'll add something else. I always like to add flanger too. I think you can get some, here we are. Flanger, add some cool stuff. And what I do is, as you'll see, is I kind of just pick some of these defaults and then make some adjustments. So I'll try resonator. All right, so that's really cool. And then I add this to almost every single one of my tracks, a bit crusher, or at least a heavy bass track. And that's because I just kind of treat it like a soft clipper. So I just like put the drive up, and as you can see, it just cuts it right off there. So I'm going to turn this down. All right. So now I might add my reverb before the bit crusher, because the bit crusher also acts as a limiter. So I'll do space designer and just a little bit of reverb. So I'll do like a medium space, hall, bright hall, and I'll turn this way down. All right, so that's a good bassline, different spellings. So now we want to add some energy and some really cool stuff on top of that. So I'm going to add a new track, and let's do the EFM1. This is a synth that I really haven't been using up until this year, and it has a lot of potential. So what I'm going to do is, if you watch the dubstep episode, the previous episode of this, producing with Logic Pro stock plugins, you'd have seen my method on creating some really cool noises by just automating parameters. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to create a MIDI region and just have an F note, and I'll have it the whole entire measure. And this is what the FM synth looks like, but so I'm just doing that to show you all the different things that we can adjust. So I'm going to start by adjusting the, let's see, I'm going to go to FM and let's see, what is that? So if you're not sure what the parameter is when you're automating, you can just go, you don't need musical typing, just go here. And then if you go to touch, all right, so this is telling me that this is, and then just be careful that you turn it back to read once you find what you're looking for. But I found that this is carrier FM intensity. So if I do something, start low, go high, and then come back, let's see what that sounds like. All right, that's cool. Now let's go back to touch and let's do wave. Okay, so go back. And this is modulator wave, so I'll do something similar wave here. See what that sounds like. Oh, that's cool. Might even spread it out a bit more. That's very cool. All right, let's see if I can adjust anything else. Detune. So go down to touch. And you could find all these without doing the touch thing, but it just makes it easier, especially if you're not used to the synth. So, all right, here's my detune right here. I'll start a little lower. All right, so that is really cool. And let's see what else we can do. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to stop there. And now I'm going to add some other effects to this. So add an EQ. All right, and I'm going to cut the lows, just because once again we have the sub. All right, that's awesome. Now I'm going to add some modulation, maybe some chorus. All right, yeah, I like that chorus right there. Now I'll add some flange, maybe some phaser. I haven't used any phaser today. So let's see. Here we go. And definitely not too much phaser. Something strange sounds good. All right, nice. All right, so that sounds cool. And put a little bit of reverb on this. I'm just picking something random. Perfect. And just a bit crusher to add some distortion. I'll turn this down. All right, cool. Now I'm going to bounce this whole thing in place. Let's hear what we have. Turn this down just in case it's too loud. All right, so now what I'm going to do is kind of layer this over, chop it up and layer it. So let's see what this sounds like on its own. I'm using the fade tool right now. Oh, I like that a lot. So I'm going to make a new track. Turn automation off. And let's see. Oh, it's a quarter note. So let's try this. Oh, that's cool. All right, I like that for the first note of each 2-bar chunk. Definitely doesn't sound like a stock plugin anymore. All right, so now I'm just gonna make a copy of this and bring it back to the original. Let's find some other chunks of this that we can use. Oh, I like that. All right, let's see. I'm gonna cut this up, and we want 1/8 notes now. So let me see what this sounds like. Oh, I like that a lot. So I'm gonna just use the same fade tool, And let's see what this sounds like. Okay. So now, remember the bass line, I changed the notes, so I'm just gonna adjust the pitch here. And I might have a different track for this. It might just be easier to work with. So let's see. Oh, I'll start over here. So let's see, what note am I doing? I need to go to G sharp, and then, so that's 3 above, 2 above, 1 above. Okay, that's fine. So I'll make this 3 above, and then I'll make these ones 2 above, and then I'll make these 1 above, and then it goes back down to the original. And just remember, I started this note on F, so the original one is F, which is what we wanted. And then I believe it goes back up. Let's see. And then, yeah, back up. So that's, I can just drag these two because these are +1. And then these should be +2. And then maybe I might just leave the laser for the last one. So let's see how this sounds. All right, this sounds a bit too chunky for my liking, so I'm gonna adjust the fade. So I'm going up here, fade out, I'm gonna increase. And I might increase fade in as well. And because I have them all highlighted, this will work for all of them. So let's see what this sounds like. Oh, no, I think that's too much. So let's turn the fade out down. And I'm just gonna turn the volume down in general. Maybe not that much lower. All right, I'm gonna turn the fade out a little bit up. And once again, this is not gonna be perfect. I'm just rushing through this, but the whole point of this is to give you guys ideas. I'll turn the laser up because if it's gonna act as the bass. All right, so. All right, so maybe for the next one, I'll do something slightly different. So, oh yeah. Something like this. So let's see what this sounds like. All right. That wasn't exactly the noise I wanted. All right, hold on. Just Command Zing. Maybe right here and right here. Oh, I like that better. Okay, good. So I'll add some fades and see where this takes me. So once again, I'm going to bring this one up 3 semitones because the first part of this is the same, 1, 2, and then bring these down 1, so it's +2, then bring these down 1 again, and then bring these back to 0, and let's check what the bass line looks like. Okay, there's four F's and then there's 4 C's. So I need to double this. And then there are 4 C's, which would be 7 above. Let's see what this sounds like. All right, so I'm gonna make a new track for this because these sound a bit quieter. And you can add, I might add some effects to this to make it sound a little bit smoother. So let's see. All right, so this is gonna give us a basic idea of what we have. All right, so I think the last thing I'm going to do is make a track stack out of these and just add some effects so they kind of sound a bit more similar. And I might turn this one up because this is kind of like the backbone of it. All right. So I'm just going to add EQ. Okay, just something like that. And then I might add some chorus to this. It sounds a bit sharp. So let's go to modulation and let's try glimmering. All right, and I'll do maybe one more modulation. I'll do some ensemble, which is similar to chorus, I believe, but just kind of making it less sharp and robotic. So. All right, and now that turned the volume down, so I'm going to put a bit crusher on here. So I'll turn this gain up a bit. All right, cool. Last thing I'm going to do is just, I just saved it, but last thing I'm going to do is just put everything to a side chain to the kick so it goes in a bit smoother. So a quick way to do that is to just make one big track stack, but I'm already using track stack, so it's actually going to be a couple. And I'll go create track stack. I always use something. And now I'm going to add a compressor here. And this will be sidechain audio chunky kick. That's my kick drum. And let's see what that is. Sorry, my computer can't handle this for some reason. All right, so that's good. And then I'll do the same thing here. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing that, I'm just going to show you guys a quick trick that you can do. You can literally just go down to the mixer. I hit X to get to the mixer. And then I believe this is my summing, so I'll just add that here, and that should be the same. All right, awesome. So let's play it one more time. Whoops. And then we'll be done. Once again, I'll upload this file if you guys want to download it. Yeah, and that'll be it. So here we go. Actually, last thing I forgot. I'm going to put some vocal chants in here. I recorded myself saying hey a long time ago. And there it is, Tim, hey. And I think that would add a lot to this. So let's see. Hey! Hey! Yep, so we'll do it right there. I'll add, let's see. Hey! Hey! Perfect. It won't be too long. Sorry, I told you guys I was going to be done, but I'm not yet. And one more. Okay, I'm going to change the pitch here of all these. Maybe go down like 4 or 5. Hey, 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 hey. And then I'm going to distort the crap out of it. So there's a bit crusher. Turn this up, turn this down, turn this down. Hey, 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 hey. And then put some reverb on it. We'll do reverb, space designer. Hey, 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 hey. And then I'm going to put this in one of these side chains. So I'll do it in here. Not that it really matters because the kick, it's on the offbeat of the kick. So anyway, here we go. Hey, 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 hey. I only did half of them. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna play it one more time, and I promise this is the last time. And I hope you guys enjoyed. So anyway, this would be a good start to making a bass house drop. I'm like, once again, I kind of rushed through this, but you can do a whole lot more, kind of maybe make your basses sound even more, cooler by modulating more effects or modulating more synthesizer parameters, adding some other background elements. There's really a lot you can do. But anyway, that's about it. If you like this video or if it helped you out, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or video suggestions, be sure to leave a comment. If you want to see more videos like this, or check out my DJ videos, DJ performances, or gear reviews, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.
Bassline.